Some stories fuck your mind and shatter your peace for the rest of your life. Certain thoughts and stories are that powerful. So, be careful what story you let into your mind. Do you want to know what happened to the young man who ignored that warning? Nearly a century ago, Pudhumaipithan wrote one such story. This is The Murderer's Hand. We were college students, young enough to laugh at everything. There were no one to question us. We trusted science. We believed every mystery had an explanation, every superstition, rational answer. Every evening, our hostel room became a gathering place. We mocked at each other without mercy and burst into laughter every evening. It was just another ordinary evening until the door burst open. Parameshwaran walked in with a strange smile on his face. He was a medical student, the kind of young man who collected unusual things simply because they fascinated him. In his hand was an old newspaper bundle tied carefully with a string. He looked at all of us and asked, "Do you know where I've just come from?" We laughed. One of us replied, "How do we know? You have to tell that, you idiot." Without answering, he placed the bundle on the table. Slowly, he untied the string. Fold after fold, the old newspaper fell away. The room grew quieter. Then we saw it. A human hand, severed, dried by time until the skin clung tightly to the bones. The fingernails were still there. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then someone finally shouted, "Throw that thing away, damn it!" Parameshwaran didn't flinch. He smiled. "Relax," he said. "There is a story behind it." And that story began many years before any one of us were born. During the days of British Raj, there lived an Englishman whose name had almost vanished from memory, but whose crimes had not. He served first as an enforcer under the British and later as the trusted executioner of a powerful zamindar. Anyone who stood in his way simply disappeared. Some bodies were recovered, many were never found. At last, even the British authorities could no longer ignore his atrocities. He was captured, brutally tortured, and condemned to death. But before they carried out the execution, they cut off his right hand, the very hand that had murdered so many. Years passed, but the hand remained. It passed from one owner to another, carrying its dark history wherever it went. In time, it came into the possession of a wandering sorcerer who was said to use it in occult rituals. When the sorcerer died, all his belongings were auctioned. That was where Parameshwaran found it. He bought it not because he believed the stories, but because he didn't. None of us knew it then. The hand wasn't the only thing that entered our hostel. Something else came with it. We didn't believe those stories. How could we? We were medical students. We spent our days studying anatomy, diseases, and the human body. To us, it was nothing more than a severed hand, just preserved flesh, just another specimen. Certainly nothing to be afraid of. Yet, before the evening was over, one of our friends looked at the hand and said quietly, with a grave expression, "My grandmother used to tell me something. If a man dies after losing one of his limbs, his spirit never stops searching for it. And if someone keeps that missing part, the dead come back to reclaim what belongs to them." The room erupted with laughter. "Naidu," one of the guys, laughed out louder than others. "Listen to yourself," he said. "Medical students frightened by village folklore? Come on. This stupid guy Parameshwaran has simply developed a strange hobby. That's it. Nothing to be feared." The laughter returned. The conversation moved on. And just like that, the warning was forgotten. Later that night, I walked with Parameshwaran to his room. He hung the severed hand above his bed, almost like a collector displaying an unusual trophy. Before going to bed, he quietly picked a piece of chalk and wrote something on the wall. It read, "Life is an illusion." I remembered smiling when I saw it. At that time, it felt like another one of his dramatic jokes. Looking back, those words weren't a joke at all. Sometime after the midnight, the hostel became unnaturally quiet. The laughter has disappeared. The corridors stood empty. Only the slow turning of ceiling fans, the rain against old windows, and the occasional barking of the distant dog reminded us that the night was still alive. Then a scream shattered the silence. It was a scream of a man who had looked upon something he could not understand. I ran towards Parameshwaran's room. The door was open. The furniture lay overturned. The room looked as though a violent struggle had taken place. And there, on the floor, lay Parameshwaran. His hair was a tangled mess. His eyes remained unnaturally wide, as if his final sight had been too horrifying to escape. Blood had dried at the corners of his mouth, and on his neck, 5 deep bruises, perfectly shaped like fingers, as if an unseen hand had refused to let go. But that wasn't what frightened me the most. I looked towards the wall. The hook was still there. The rope still hung from it, swaying gently. But the severed hand was gone. The police searched the room from top to bottom. No doors had been forced open. No windows were broken. There were no footprints, no weapon, no suspect, nothing. Parameshwaran survived the attack, but something inside him did not. His body healed, his mind never did. Within days, he had been admitted to a mental asylum, and every time anyone went near him, he whispered the same words again and again and again. "He's coming! Don't let him come near me! Catch him! Please! Catch him! Catch him!" When fear refused to leave a man's mind, it no longer matters whether the monster is real. To him, it is real. I visited Parameshwaran only once after he was admitted to the asylum. The man sitting before me was no longer the friend I had known. His body has grown painfully thin. His eyes stared through people as though he were looking at something none of us could see. He did not recognize me. For a long time, he simply sat there in silence. Then, without a warning, he looked through the empty corner of the room. His face changed. Terror. Pure, uncontrollable terror. He stumbled backwards, raising his hand as though trying to push someone away. "He's here," he whispered. "Don't let him touch me!" he screamed. "He's strangling me! Catch him! Catch him! Please catch him!" The room was empty. At least it was empty to everyone except him. He screamed with every last breath on his body, as if something inside him was breaking apart. And then he collapsed. He never got up again. We carried his body to the cremation ground. His father walked beside us in complete silence. Some grief is simply too heavy for words. As preparation for the cremation began, I noticed a few workers digging the ground nearby. Suddenly, one of them stopped. His shawl had struck something hard. At first, it looked like nothing more than an old, forgotten grave. Then the soil gave away. A skeleton slowly emerged. Time had stripped away everything except bones. As I looked closer, something felt wrong. The skeleton's right forearm was missing. I froze. The workers continued clearing away the soil. Then, in one corner of the grave, they uncovered a dried human hand. The exact same hand that Parameshwaran brought. The skeleton's remaining arm rested across it, almost as though it had finally reclaimed something it had been searching for. One of the workers laughed nervously and said, "Even after death, you still wouldn't let go of your hand, huh?" Then he slowly pulled the hand from the skeleton's grip. At that exact moment, a huge worm crawled out through the skull's empty eye. The man screamed in disgust and threw the hand straight back into the grave. Just left it where it belongs, undisturbed. The grave was covered once again. Now, Did a murdered man's spirit return to claim the hand that was taken from him? Or did one terrifying story slowly consume the mind of a young medical student? The author, Pudhumaipithan, never tells us, and perhaps he never intended to, because the greatest horror does not live in ghosts, it lives in the things that couldn't be explained. Some mysteries are beyond reason, some truths are beyond sanity, and perhaps the wisest thing we can do is not to uncover them, but to leave them exactly where they belong, undisturbed. Pudhumaipithan is one of the greatest legends in world literature, an extraordinary Tamil writer the world has yet to fully discover. In the coming days, we'll explore more of his finest stories. And if you like to experience the murderer's hand in a different way, check out the comic adaptation in my channel's community post. I'll be back soon with another masterpiece from Pudhumaipithan. Until then, stay tuned and ferment with stories.